All right.
All right. Welcome back, y'all. Joel and I are here again doing our show with an awesome guest. We are so happy to have Robin Whitfield. Thank you so much for being on and talking with us this evening. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's all my favorite stuff to talk about.
Me too. Um, well, cool. Let's dive in, Joel. I know you did a good deal of work getting some of Robin's coolest iNaturalist observations together, and I'm just Robin, I guess I'll say this. I have always really looked up to you for how much you have done in your community. And and I just think it's so cool. You know, I've watched you on some other YouTube videos and presentations, and I think you're awesome. So
Oh man, well
thank
thank
you.
you. I'm very humbled and honored for you to say
Yeah,
that.
for sure. Um, so so yeah. Um,
That's what plants will do to you. When you love plants, it just, I don't know. That's all I can say.
I know. It's
Especially places, like the places where they grow. You'll do, I mean, at least I'll do just about anything to make sure they stay there.
and that's what I admire about you. But Joel, is there anything I need to do to get that to get this slideshow up, or is that? Oh,
No,
there
I'm
we
going to share my screen.
go. Cool.
One second, y'all. And is that showing full screen for you guys?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So I I'm super excited because Robin, you live not that far from where I grew up in Calhoun County. So I grew up
Oh,
in
wow.
Bruce, Water Valley area.
Okay.
So in my younger years, I definitely spent some time around Grenada, and so yeah, what you've done is legendary in my opinion. And so yeah, we'll just get into it. If you could just tell us a little bit just about your background and how you found yourself in Grenada, because you're not from there, your family's not from there originally, right?
That's right. I grew up in Clinton.
Got it.
And I think, I ended up in Grenada. I went to Delta State University and I studied painting there. And I always liked being outside, but I grew up, in the Jackson area and my access to public land, like I just didn't have access. The Natchez Trace wasn't even open at Clinton then. And so, nature for me was my backyard, or when my family would go out, we would go camping. We would travel and camp because it was the cheapest way to travel, and I would be able to slip off and kind of. I couldn't have called it like I didn't think in terms of habitats or ecosystems, but I just remember I knew what it felt like to be somewhere wild. So anyway, so here I go to Delta State, which is all ag. So I think when I moved to Grenada right after Delta State to paint some murals in their public schools, and I had that feeling again, like, whoa, there was a little swamp in our downtown that I would go to every day, and I had that wild feeling, like I knew I was surrounded by, I now know the words biodiversity, but like I knew I was surrounded by like all this magic really, and I wanted to know more and just spend time there. So I guess that's really that's what brought me to Grenada, and I think the swamp is what held me here.
Yeah. And so here's a photo of you doing what you do, painting out in the natural areas there in Grenada. And this
And
is your
getting that
studio
that's right.
in Grenada.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you what, that kayak was a game changer for me. I got it in 2005, and yeah, I'd never even been in a kayak before, but I just knew I wanted a way to get out into that swamp, just off, off in it. And and I was just learning watercolor at the time. I had studied a different kind of painting. And so when I combined watercolor with that boat, and was able to really, I guess what I would just call escape from the real world. I could just get out there and just think about nothing, really nothing, and just paint. And painting is my way of kind of being quiet and still and observing the world. So yeah, and this is my studio in downtown Grenada.
If, when you were in college, were you did you have an emphasis on watercolor then as well, or
No, no, I never. We didn't have any. There was no offering of watercolor when I was at Delta State.
huh?
I was always a huge fan of Walter Anderson's work,
Yeah.
and so that and in my mind, watercolor painters worked in the landscape. Somehow I didn't know any I just thought that's what you did when you watercolored, is that you worked outside. Because our neighbor was also White Waters, another well-known outdoor watercolor painter. And so I didn't even know you could do watercolor inside. So I always wanted to be a watercolor painter so I could paint outside. It's a lightweight and easy to take with you, non-toxic. It's just an awesome media for outside.
That is so cool. And if anybody watching ever gets the opportunity, I got to see some of your work. Well, I went to the swamp with Jared Barkley last year,
Mm.
and I think we ran into you, which is we
Yeah.
had a fantastic day. But also, I've seen your work at the Pollinator Palooza
Yeah.
and other events, and you have a really unique style that I really enjoy. That's all I wanted to say is I really uh, I think that your artwork is great. It's incredible. So
I really appreciate that.
yeah.
That means a lot for plant people to say that because I leave out all the details that I see, but I try to capture the kind of the essence or the of plants. And I like to think that plant lovers might feel or understand the plants I'm trying to capture, even though I don't put in the details.
Yeah, the colors are so cool. I get lost in them. I'm thinking of a couple of species in particular, maybe cypress during the winter time
Yeah.
with the sun behind the trees and like the blues, yellows, oranges, like all of that is so hard to you just did really well. Some of them I really like stick into my brain, which is cool.
Cool.
It's really special stuff. So
And this is just a map of the downtown Grenada area, and you can see that just how close in proximity Lee Tartt Nature Preserve, the area that Robin has been going out to all these years, it's so close to your downtown, right? That's only like a quarter of a mile, right?
That's right. From my studio. That's right, which is right on the square. That's right.
When you first started going to this location, were you immediately painting out there, or were you just sort of exploring and later painting here?
Well, definitely it was an explorer in the beginning because first of all, I wasn't so sure. I loved being in nature, but I had not spent, I mean, I was kind of scared. Like I thought like everybody else that there's snakes and alligators everywhere. I thought I had this idea about swamps. And also this was called Dump Lake at the time. And this is where people came and just dumped stuff. There was no gate. I mean, there was no one was controlling this area and the city owned it. And it was in terrible shape. So I had to get brave enough to get past all the trash which of course I did pretty quickly. But I had to get comfortable before I could start painting, really. But I mean, within a year of exploring it, I was out there with my watercolors, painting it badly. I mean, even though I just graduated from art school, I was really bad at watercolor, and it took a couple of years. I mean, this swamp was my teacher. It taught me about plants, and it taught me how to paint, how to have patience. I mean, I can't say enough about what it's what it does for me even still.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into some of your painting then. So I'm going to start with one of my favorites that I found. I just pulled a number of them that I really liked from your website and also from other
Mhm.
places. But
Cool.
this one in particular really, I don't know, it speaks to me, and it says a lot with very little. And I don't know, there's something kind of magical about it. So yeah, I don't know if you have anything to say about this particular piece, but
Yeah, look, it means so much that you like this particular piece, just because this is I sometimes I mean I like to edge. I call myself a visual poet, really, but I mean that's how I think of myself. And to me, this gets more into the type of poetics that I like to try to capture how a place feels. And this is that late afternoon light as it's coming into a forest, and this is the swamp. I'm in the cypress trees and all this, the lights are hitting the trees and in the winter. And
Mhm.
sometimes I wonder if this type of painting isn't too abstract for people. So it means a lot that this one speaks to you because this is the kind of stuff I like best too that I do.
Yeah.
you captured that really well. I grew up in a Ghost River State Natural Area, renting canoes and kayaks with my family and my dad. So it's a very similar environment. And, I don't know. I think you captured it so well. I mean, Cypress Tupelo Swamp and And this swamp, that's what I immediately thought when I visited for the first time. I think these are just gorgeous. So the color like that, that's just awesome.
Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm going to go through these. Feel free to stop me at any point, you guys. Um,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I love getting those like you can see how I can go from tight to loose and I kind of like I tend to like the looser stuff. And this one, right, I play with people know me for playing with natural pigments too. And a lot of people think my paintings are all done with nature, and that is not true. My watercolors are just professional watercolors. But I am obsessed with I'm obsessed with dipping paper or really dragging paper across the surface of swamps. And that's what this is. All those oils that are, floating on the surface that look, they kind of create that sheen that we all, see. It is an amazing color on paper, and it changes throughout the seasons. And if there's pollen in the water, or, if it hasn't rained in a minute and it's real, this oil can be really dense. It's amazing. Every time you wipe it across the water, each pass is so unique at what comes off on the paper, and I could just be addicted. This is at Matthews Break National Wildlife Refuge.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a really wonderful video on YouTube. I recommend anybody watching to go to look up Robin Whitfield on YouTube. But it shows you in your kayak actually dipping the paper across the water, and it's just gorgeous.
hmm And I recommend everybody just try it. Just get you some
Yeah.
heavy enough paper and go find a place where there's some standing water and wipe your paper across it.
Mm.
that's so cool.
Yeah,
Well,
we have 3 beech trees at Lee Tartt Nature Preserve, and I guess the areas that never get flooded, and this is one of them. I love that beach. I try to paint it every year.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, that's down at y'all ever go to Rocky Springs down at on off the Trace down below Jackson?
I
Mhm.
haven't been.
Really nice. It's that creek that runs through it, and it is a great place for plants. Although, like all places, last time I went, I was so saddened to see stilt grass really taking a hold in there.
Oh, God
They're
bless.
really nice stuff, like Little Brown Jug. It's like the first place I ever saw. This is my childhood stomping ground, my first taste of the wild. My parents would take us here, and I remember I didn't know what these plants were, but it's the first time I saw Little Brown Jug. It's the first time I saw is it Florida anise? The red the bush with the red flowers. None of that grows up here in Grenada, but I remember just seeing those two plants and being amazed.
Yeah, that one smells real good. I'm going to Jackson tomorrow. What's the name of that place?
This is called Rocky Springs. It's about 20 minutes like south of Jackson on the Natchez Trace.
Awesome.
It
I'll
is
check.
an awesome. I mean, it's got to just look for the creek that's kind of running through it. And this is actually right across the road. The secret place is right across the road from where the bathrooms are, across the Natchez Trace. The creek's right next to the road, but you can't see it from the road. And that's kind of like my little private paradise. You can just walk over there, and man, those woods are rich.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Oh yeah. Can y'all know this? I mean, I already have fire pink on there. I was at can y'all guess where I was in Mississippi?
Oh,
These are boulders. That's my
oh, it's down Tishomingo.
Yeah, I was at Tishomingo State Park. I was actually staying at one of the cabins, and you can walk out. Have y'all ever stayed there? Yeah, they're right on top of those big boulders. And these fire pinks were just growing all up through, these big boulders that you can walk, they're right behind the cabins.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And talk about another place where stilt grass is also getting a stronghold. I mean, stilt grass is everywhere, but I was trying to, I went and talked to the park manager about it, and he could care less.
Oh, yeah, that's a shame. But you've done a pretty good job. I've seen on your Facebook post in Lee Tartt. Y'all have been hammering it pretty good, right?
Yeah, we've been really been hammering it. And I know how, I mean, it's easy to hammer. That's the thing. And I was trying to tell the park manager if they just change their mowing regime,
Right.
just not mowing after September is a game changer because that's when it makes its seeds. But just weed eating it to the ground it kills it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I was doing actually trying to do some of that today in some shaded areas where most of it hadn't made seed yet, but surprisingly, but
Yeah.
relentless, especially if it's in the seed bank. Sometimes it'll continue to come back, but
Yeah, it comes back for about 3 years, but we just know that and just hit it again. But it's
mm,
less every year, way less
awesome.
after
Yeah,
that
y'all
first
done
year.
a good job in there with that. It's one I'm surprised how often I mean, I just see it everywhere. It's
Everywhere.
crazy.
Yeah.
I love this one. It reminds me of an herbarium voucher record.
Right? I think
I,
after I did it, and I like to leave white backgrounds because that way you can really see the form of the plant. But yeah, after I did this one, I often think they remind me of an herbarium, yeah, sheets.
That's cool.
Beautiful, and that's one of the liatris. I think you guys have like three liatrices around Grenada alone, right?
We do at least three. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, cardinal flower.
Yeah, I love to I do so many different iterations of this one. We have a lot of this out at Lee Tartt Nature Preserve, and although the deer, this is a favorite deer plant, they eat it to the ground. So sometimes I'll protect some to make sure that I can still see them blooming. But
It's cool.
yeah, magical to sit in a patch of those and have the hummingbirds just flutter all around your face while you're out there painting.
Yeah. So I guess, Robin, I would like to hear a little bit about the conservation efforts that how like how that came about. My understanding is that the city of Grenada was intending to sell off these trees, and basically you led the effort to save these trees, and it's so inspiring. So I would love to just hear a little bit about that and how you started the Friends of the Chakchiuma Swamp.
Um, well, yeah, certainly it wasn't planned. I this is where I just say plants will. I would have never envisioned myself having the courage to do something. I mean, I've been going out here for years, knowing it was probably vulnerable. But one day I came to paint, and there were timber harvest ribbons that actually said "timber harvest" like on the ribbon, all around the entire perimeter of this 300 acres. And the city had already given me permission to name it. We named it Chakchiuma Swamp, natural area. And we had trails up, we had a sign up and everything. And so, I was upset and went to the city, and they did not want to tell me is what it came down. They did not want to tell me they needed the money, and they were going to harvest all the timber off all their properties, including this one. And but I will say they left the door open. They could have been jerks, but they weren't. They were like, "Well, Robin, we don't want to cut the trees, but we need the money." And ultimately, with that, I'm a creative person, and I was not willing to just. I knew I could live with myself if I tried everything I could think of. So they let me come to the council meeting, and and so. I gave them like a 10-minute presentation showing them not that they really cared necessarily, but I showed them all these beautiful pictures, like the kinds that I put on iNat, of all the plants and animals that in some of my paintings, trying to show them what they had to lose. But to make them care, I showed them the map that you just showed. And I said, "Do y'all see how close this is? Like, think what we have to market to, this is this is something amazing that nobody has in their downtown." Now, once again, it did not save the trees at that moment, but they heard me, and what it ultimately ended up doing is it held the door open enough for me to come back to them after a group of citizens got together and were like, some people just didn't want to see a big clear cut for the entrance of our downtown because that's what it would have been. And some people just thought it was ridiculous for the city to just harvest any of their trees for the general. It was going to be for the general fund. And of course, some people, just like swamps. But for lots of different reasons, people, joined forces. And the big idea that came out of that is we started talking to like the Mississippi Forestry Commission in particular and Delta Wildlife, or no, it was Wildlife Mississippi. And they kept saying how, I did not know the value of trees. When you're talking about market value of trees, not ecological value. I know the ecological value of trees. Well, not really. It blows my mind. But when the market value of trees, and these guys were telling me, man, I don't see a tree in this forest worth more than $75. That blew my mind. And they started like pointing, they were putting dollar tags. I had a forestry commission guy saying, I see that tree's $40. And I'm looking at like a 40-year-old oak, and he's saying it's not even worth $40. And I'm like, what? They're going to cut and I so they just but that gave me this idea to adopt the trees for their timber value. Because I'm like, oh my God, I know people who would pay $75 and allow this tree to stand. And I thought, well, what if we could get 500 people to adopt trees. I thought, well, that would give the city the money. I'm here naively thinking all this, but when I brought that back to the city at a council meeting, we got a standing ovation for that. I mean, even the council members, they didn't want, they thought it was like a win-win. Um, but they did give us a time limit. They gave us like 2 months, and they needed a significant amount of the money, or we didn't even know what they needed. But I'm kind of making this too long. I need to hurry this story up. But in the end, we did not raise enough money. We adopted $30,000 worth of trees in 6 weeks, and it still wasn't enough. But we ended up having someone, in which at the time I didn't even know what enough was, but I knew they had rejected a $200,000 bid. But anyway, so we had somebody come out of nowhere. And this is why sometimes I feel like fighting, I don't want to say I fought, but I fought internally. I feel like I try not to make the city an enemy of mine because I was going to have to work with them later anyway. I had a relationship with them, and we were just trying to find any way we could to make this work. And all they wanted was money. So we ended up finding someone who came out of nowhere who heard our story, and he fronted us all the money. He fronted $300,000. And I didn't know that's what it was going to cost. He came and gave it to the city without telling me. And uh, and he asked for really two things. One, he wanted it named after Lee Tartt. And I, of course, at the time, I was like, well, who's Lee Tartt? And that was a gift in and of itself. Lee Tartt was a man in Grenada who was on the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics, who had died in the line of duty earlier that same year they were going to cut the forest in 2016. And it turned out, I mean, he was an amazing person. I've only ever heard amazing stories about how he helped people. And so having his name attached to us gave people a new way of seeing. They love Lee Tartt, therefore they love this place. It was this new connections. Everything's connected. It's kind of like our little tagline. That was like a major connection. But he also he wanted to be a matching donor for us selling these trees. And so he wanted half the money back after we had it in a lump sum. And after we had, so we are still adopting trees to this day, where all that money goes to that fund to pay him back for what he did to save this place. And at that point, I still, I still thought I might hand this off to someone. I just never knew that I could be the one to actually be the caretaker and interpreter. But I quickly realized that I need a 501(c)(3) so we could hold a lease. We have a 60-year lease on this property. That was kind of our negotiation with the city. We give you $300,000, you give us a 60-year lease. And so that's actually, I will probably not be alive to see the end of that 60-year lease. And so I ended up having to, we kind of created this core group that ended up becoming the board. We formed a 501(c)(3), and we realized that we were going to become its interpreters. And we realized that we had this chance to bring people to learn about wetlands, learn about bottomland hardwood forest, and really become not scared of nature. That was our big mission. We want you not scared of nature and not scared of wetlands. And so we knew schools could come, everybody could come. It's right off the interstate. It's right across from our downtown. And so we just started doing stuff. And I really had absolutely no clue. None of us did. But sometimes that's the best way. I did not think so at the time. But we just kind of stumbled our way forward with a huge deficit, no money. But we hired Robert Poor to make our master plan. He's Native Habitats. I don't know if y'all know his work, but that was one of our first good moves. We didn't know what to do, but we knew he would know. And we started writing grants. We got a National Park Service grant to be able to pay Robert to start off on our master plan, and then we ended up getting a recreational trails program grant to do our first project with Robert across on the west side of. We built a 2-mile trail that kind of it really tells the story of a bottomland hardwood forest. Ultimately, we'll have some interpretive signs, but it starts on the river, and goes through like the sand flats that were farmed and now they're recovering, and then on into a young forest that was harvested in the 90s, and then into a mature forest that hasn't been harvested in 60, 70 years. So anyway, we just kind of, that's kind of where we are now. This is like almost 9 years later or 8 years later. And I can't believe it. Like next year will be the 10th anniversary of that timber sale year. So
It's
That's
amazing.
so inspiring. That's amazing.
really amazing. Look, it's changed my life. I mean, I think when someone's willing to put $300,000 because they believe in you, and he was told me, he said, I believe that you will change North Mississippi and make a regional destination. I just decided that I would try to, so that's our goal. We're trying to get people outside. We want people to not being scared of nature is step one. You have got to not be scared to even begin to think you're going to go to a national wildlife refuge or a national forest or somewhere without trails, or even care to notice that we have public land. I mean, one of the things that I love so much about Grenada County, because I just happened to be in, I got of all counties, that's just who happened to hire me to come paint murals. I did not, never heard of Grenada in my life. But once I got to Grenada, have y'all ever noticed how much public land we have in Grenada County?
Yes.
We've got Holly Springs National Forest, some huge tracts. I mean, I wish I could tell you all the acreage. We, of course, got Grenada Lake, which is more than 10,000. We surrounded by, and it's undeveloped. I don't know if y'all know that, but Grenada Lake is an undeveloped, unlike a lot of the other big lakes. We've got Tallahatchie National Wildlife Refuge. We've got Mount Mason Wildlife Management Area, which to me, it's one of the best wildlife management areas in the state. It's huge, and it's got both the delta and the hills. No, and of course we got Lee Tartt Nature Preserve. And to me, all those things combined, there is I mean, this was like my dream as a child to have access to this much public land and this much diversity and habitat. It's just amazing between the Lurse Bluffs and the Delta. And then we've got these, what they call the North Central Plateau off to our east. I mean, it's just crazy the amount of biodiversity. We have the seventh highest biodiversity in Mississippi, according to BONAP. Now, I know it's not always accurate, but I'm still, we're still up there. I mean, mostly because someone paid attention.
Yeah, that's awesome. What did you say? I was writing something down.
Yeah,
North Central Plateau. Do you think is that like Northern Hilly Gulf Coastal Plain? Because
I
you
think so. There's so many
encompass.
different words for it, but do y'all know Dr. Morris? He wrote the flora for Grenada County, the flora, the what's it called? The Grenada County flora.
Like a
Can you
floristic survey of some kind,
Yeah,
or
yeah. When he was in grad school, he used Grenada for he did the, like he was very thorough, which is why our plant, he was so thorough, and he's a professor at Troy State, and he put all that on, out there. So it's on BONAP, and, and all the other, it's Grenada has a very high plant count because he was out there counting. I mean, counting the species. But I've got a copy of that, and I've had it for many years, and I really use it to go and try to hunt down plants or just become aware of how much biodiversity we have.
that's so cool. I stood up because I've got this map, and I'm going to be. But you're absolutely right, Grenada. And I've looked at it because I've noticed there is high biodiversity. It seems like, especially all these different kinds of ecological sites and habitats. But I don't know if our viewers can see, but you're at that thin. It's like alluvial plain, or the delta as we know it
That's
in
right.
Mississippi, the Lurse or Luss Bluffs, Bluff Hills, the Luss Plains, and the North Central Plateau or the Northern Hilly Gulf. They're all
That's
three.
right.
They're banded right there.
That's right. Because we're such a long, skinny county, we just lay right across all three.
It's really cool. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah.
It's the kind of stuff that makes me excited. So,
Yeah.
but that is cool. That you have a very good point. It's like they're all represented right there around Grenada, so you can kind of get a good view of a lot of what North Mississippi has to offer just by one short east to west drive.
That's right.
Right there.
Yeah. And
That's
I will never see, our county, I spend way more time, like I spend so much time in just a couple of different places, but I really need to start taking, I'm jealous of you here. You take so many excursions in so many places. I used to drive the roads a lot and just go check things out, and I really need to start doing that again.
well, I'm also, some of these excursions are me taking my kids to school or
Right?
going to the grocery store, and I pull over.
Right?
It drives my wife crazy. She's like, dude, come on.
Same. Same.
Look at this, and like, so I mean, I'm doing the same thing you're doing, just in my home. You're in your home
Right.
experiencing, and Joel is too. I mean, Joel, it's cool. And we find it in power lines, the most unsuspecting places. But
And power lines are great.
oh my gosh! But what's so inspiring about your story is you found one, and you took action, and I love that about your story you just told. I mean, that's what I hope to do with. I hope to follow in your footsteps with that, because I see so many special places here that just go unnoticed, and they're so beautiful to me, and I see the beauty in them, just like you described seeing
Right.
the beauty in the swamp. But
Right.
you went. I mean, that's just a beautiful story. That's a great.
Well,
That's
thanks. Well, I mean, I wish, unfortunately, most of us, it takes, I meant to do something sooner, way before it got to the point that they were going to cut it to try to get the city to put more protections on it. But I just got busy and I never, they were letting me put some trails up. But if I could tell, I mean, I just wish so many counties and cities own properties that have awesome things on them. A lot of cities own and counties own wetlands because nobody knows what to do with them. So
right.
they just give them to city. Nobody wants to pay taxes on them.
Mhm.
So, I would love for people in communities if they like see a beauty, if they see some beautiful spot that they know is owned by their city or county, I would love to inspire others to partner with their cities and counties to just start citizen groups that just clean up the trash there. And if they do nothing else, just that, but call it, I just give it a name. All a place needs is a name, and then a city has a thing that all of a sudden, for no money, keep the trash picked up, and they've got a destination. You can put a trail there or not, but just for people, I had no idea how much land our city and county owned till this happened, and I started looking, and
Well,
they
you
just let
are
it sit there.
you are inspiring people. I hope you know that. I mean, that's why we asked you. But I'm even hearing the story just now more in depth is very moving, because you're right. I mean, and it's the cogs are turning in my brain on areas around me that I would love to do the same with. And I'm fortunate that we have Jared Barkley's the one who told me about the swamp, and we went
Oh,
down
cool.
there and kayaked, and we saw you for just a little bit
Yeah.
last year. But he's our director of parks in Hernando.
Yes, I know. Y'all are so lucky to have him. He's
I
awesome.
know. So I'm
So
like,
lucky.
he's just really on that page, so he's doing
Yeah.
great things. But yeah, it's just so amazing what you've done. And such a cool, just such a great story. Um,
Thanks.
Let's dive into some plants further.
Right.
So I want to say it was super difficult trying to pull out just a few for us to kind of review and talk through. In the Lee Tartt Nature Preserve area alone, that sort of larger area, Harry, Robin has over 2,000 observations easy in that one side alone. So I kind of split them into groups and I went through them and tried to pull out some of the more interesting ones. So we'll start with Liatris aspera. I wasn't expecting to see this one here, but that was pretty cool that you
I
saw
know I'm
that.
seeing it looks like it's very most of the Latris I see we have some awesome spots in the Holly Springs National Forest. A lot of these observations you've pulled are from that spot that I love to go to there. But this one looks like it's at the lake. And I'm trying to remember this was from 2021. I'm gonna have to go back to that spot and see where that is because I can't quite remember
you think it might
where
be Sandy?
I saw that one. The Grenada Lake's awesome. I mean, Grenada Lake too. The property around Grenada Lake, it's odd because it's a man-made reservoir, and so it's got these serious uplands. These a lot of loess soils, and it has a really unique, even though it's got this big lake and it seems like a riparian area, it really shouldn't be a riparian area. It should be. So it's got a unique soil type and a situation over there, and I think
Akabutla has one like that. Akabutla is the cold water river because we have a
yeah,
series of lakes here in North Mississippi, Grenada, Sardis, Enid, Arkabutla, but the dam has been non-functional and not working. And anyway, it's the same deal. I mean, there's parts of the Bluff Hills that were bisected by the Cold Water River at some point in our natural history.
yeah,
That you get those. Anyway, it's just super interesting, and it's fun to explore. That's for sure.
definitely. You never know what you're gonna see.
Yeah, yeah.
Next up, I included this Eurybia hemisphaerica. This one grows on my parents'
Okay.
property in Calhoun County, and I loved your shot of it, and so wanted to include it for sure. It
Yeah, I
looks
was
like you've
so
got that one
this was I
around
think this was in
12.
a road ditch. I if I see something this time of year, or I don't know, I just love to if if somebody hasn't sprayed a ditch and I see one thing that looks interesting, yeah, I'm down in that. I'm just like here, I'm down in it looking, and yeah, I always see cool stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
This Scutellaria, I included it only because you observed this one in around Calhoun City, and which is
Oh yeah.
in where my family's from. So put that one in.
Yeah.
Beautiful lobelia.
It's
That
funny.
was
This was in a total way. That was in a total waste area. Like if there's a place where they've bulldozed or like removed. Somebody must have sold a lot of dirt. This is right near Grenada Lake's entrance, but it's on private land. And I was there looking at. I could see all these different strata of different colored soils. And I was there trying to get some colors for my paint. And I looked and I saw this blooming in this kind of really abused area that and I couldn't believe it. I mean, I didn't even know such a nice plant would be in such a disturbed area.
That's super cool. That's
Yeah.
funny you call it waste. There's an area that Joel found that we call the Collierville Wastelands, and we say that in an endearing way, but it's funny because that's where you find some cool stuff sometimes. Is like those places that
Right.
nobody wants, that sometimes you catch people throwing trash at, are the ones
That's
that
right.
will often have some really cool diversity. And this is a really underutilized landscape plant too, because it can handle so many situations. Like the cardinalis, the cardinal flower,
Right.
not that needs a
That's
wetland.
right.
That's a beautiful plant.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Robin, do you know by chance Kyle Morgan? He's around Grenada. I think he works for the Grenada Lakes Parks.
I was
Maybe
to say I know that name really like. I feel like I do have. I mean, I obviously don't know him well, but I'm almost sure I know him.
yeah. I was just going to say he also recently observed this same lobelia somewhere around Grenada as well recently.
Okay.
So
I do think I see him on iNaturalist too.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
where, yeah.
The shortleaf pine, I like the photo and love seeing non-loblollies. So
Right. Look, I love short leaf. I'm sure if I lived down south, long leaf would be my favorite, but I
yeah.
love short leaf pine. I love the habitat it grows in. I love everything about short leaf pine.
Interesting observation, interesting note on that. And I don't mean to keep going on. I just get excited looking at plants. I don't
Yeah.
really notice it because we for vacations and my whole life we travel down I-55 and go past,
Yeah.
and I noticed last year I was really looking at the pines, and it seemed like shortleaf showed up around Batesville, or like really I started noticing it around Grenada, and that could just be because of that, all those eco regions all at
Right.
once in Grenada. But I thought, there were a lot of people were surprised to hear that, like, we maybe up here we had shortleaf, at least in Northwest. Like it seems like at the Northern Hilly Gulf Coastal Plain, I see it, but up where we're at in DeSoto and obviously in the Delta, I'm not seeing it. But up in the plains up here, I don't. But I noticed it. I noticed it when we were driving through there. So that's cool. It's a special tree.
Yeah, I should pay more attention to. I've never looked at a range map for it, exactly. I think of it as on the ridge tops and the Lurse bluffs around here. That's where I see
Yeah,
it.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Special one.
I included the duckweed just because that's one that you're probably seeing quite often.
Yes, and it's my one of my very favorite teaching plants because most people don't see it at all. When they look out at the swamp and it looks green, they see algae. Like they literally don't see it. And then when I, bring it up and show them, and we look at it under like with our phones or under a magnifying lens, and they see that it's an individual leaf with little roots, and I can change people. That's when I can start flipping people because they realize they didn't see what they thought they saw. And then I can get them to, what if you didn't see this like you thought? I can start just using that as a way to get people to open their mind. Because then all of a sudden it becomes beautiful. What they thought was gross becomes beautiful.
I love it.
That's
Yeah.
all.
And this
Oh,
carrot is out of this world.
man, I
Carrie
love
and
it.
I both were looking at this one, and we were just like, "Yeah, we've got to."
It's one of the most beautiful, and this is kind of like, this plant was invisible to me. Or I think I just saw it as grass. And I took Heather Sullivan out in the swamp maybe about 10 years ago. About the time they were trying to cut the trees, I wanted to get the state scientist up to maybe help me find something unique. Just, I was looking for anything. So Heather came up and we took on an adventure. And she flipped out over this grass looking stuff on the tree. And I mean, I didn't even never even paid attention to it. And it was by far, I thought she was gonna like all these other plants I was showing her. Like we've got Turk's cap lily and just some of these other cool plants. But she told me this is one of the rare. She said it was certainly our rarest plant, but she said she had never seen so many specimens of this plant in any one spot. She said we have this is a very common plant at Lee Tartt Nature Preserve, but
Mm,
y'all can see it as it is not a common plant. It
yeah.
is I think it has a real specific needs in wetlands, and most wetlands the water levels fluctuate too much in the delta now. You know because of the messed up hydraulic, like the hydrology is all messed up from farming and they can't take the chemicals. So she told me they should be all over the delta and it's not. But it's just a gorgeous plant, is it not?
Oh, I love it. I remember seeing it with Alan in the Ghost River Natural Area. I believe it's
Oh, cool.
it was the same kind of deal he pointed out, but it's the same. It's a Cypress Tupelo swamp, and they're very connected. I think you probably have a little more diverse, maybe being a little more south from here, but it
Yeah.
reminds me of that's what I loved about paddling it last year,
Yeah.
is it reminded me of home with a few extra things.
Oh, cool.
But that thing, I mean, I've seen some of them. Do you see stuff growing off of cypress knees?
Yeah.
Like they're almost their own little fairy world.
That's exactly how I
Yeah.
think.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's what that makes me think of is like how many plants are on that cypress knee.
Yeah, I love to take a cypress and count how many species, or especially in the spring when they're all germinating. You can count, I've counted up to 30 different species growing on one cypress tree.
Wow.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Just a
Oh, yeah. That was a
beautiful,
cool shot.
beautiful shot.
Wow. Great.
Yeah. And I never knew. I've really gotten into host plants. And do y'all know the host plant for Viceroy? Because I didn't. When I took that shot, really looked them up.
I don't remember, but I know that I figured it out because I saw so many of them down in the Coldwater River bottoms, but I can't
Yeah.
remember what it was.
It's any and the salix, willow and cottonwood,
Oh,
particularly willow. But like I just because I see a good many. I always want to think they're monarchs, but I finally realized a lot of what I'm seeing are viceroy. But it's they like those bottomland trees, the salix
That was
family.
one. We got this Persicaria in the Coldwater bottoms that Joel and I really enjoyed looking around at. And especially since the dam is not working, some of these hydroxeric places, you can see it. And I remember seeing a ton of Viceroy and that, and
Oh,
it makes a
cool.
lot of sense. You got swamp privet there, that
No,
foresty.
we do not. We have a few. It's not massive. We have not like the Delta. We've got one.
Yeah,
If we had more light, I think we would. But we've got on the north end of the most northern part of the property, we've got maybe 20 or 30 plants at the most.
cool. I remember that water elm being there too.
Yeah,
Those are cool. Sometimes they
those are
create
so
a little
cool.
grove, like a little, almost like a swamp mangrove, or
And they feel magical to me, especially when they're growing in kind of a cluster. They have a very magical feel. They make somewhere feel old, or I don't know. They have a great feel.
that bark is gorgeous. I just wonder what
Oh.
plant. No,
Just the way it grows, it has such it doesn't grow straight. It has such this, angular kind of a way of growing out.
it's
It's so cool.
beautiful.
It'd be a great landscape tree because of how it grows.
I agree. I remember paddling in some of those with Jared last year, and I
Yeah.
really taking note. There was a little grove of them in there.
Yeah.
Sorry, they were so cool. That Helenium is nice too.
Oh
Yeah, that
yeah.
was a great shot.
Yeah. Never
Uh,
know why it's called sneezeweed though. You know, it's such a great plant. I actually hate the name for it.
Same.
Yeah. Now that I remember seeing that there last year, and I think I've got some photos of flies pollinating that flower.
Yeah.
That's such a crazy flower.
Such a crazy flower. And it's a, you know, once again, this plant was invisible to me. Probably spent the first 10 or at least 15 years thinking it was kudzu. I mean, I obviously didn't even look at it. I mean, this is a person, I love plants. I know how invisible nature is to people. I just thought if it wasn't a muscadine, it was kudzu. I did not realize vine diversity was so amazing. And, uh, and I had, you know, sometimes you have to just go out with people. I don't know if y'all know Philip Barber. He's been my mentor. He's a crazy, amazing naturalist over in the Delta. And he freaked out about it. He said, "Oh my God, you've got, you know, Aristolochia tomentosa." You know, he's and because it happened to be blooming, and so he's showing it to me, and of course, it's become one of my favorite plants, you know, since then. These flowers are very small for those of y'all who have never seen one, you know, in person. You have to kind of know to look for it underneath these big heart-shaped leaves, but it's just such a neat, magical little flower. It's just so you just don't. How does nature come up with these forms? I don't know.
I know it's so fuzzy too, because it wasn't
So
blue.
fuzzy.
I saw it, but that's what I remember seeing it at the boat ramp next to the river. Or
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's where I first saw it. Is that, but is it right? And of course, it's t off of our new trail we built on the west side of the road. It just hangs in curtains on that trail. But the
oh
first time I saw it was right there by the boat ramp.
yeah, and it was so fuzzy. That's what I was like, what is going on here? And just remember
Mhm.
like feeling it. Oh my gosh, that's a cool plant.
It really grows. The Yalobusha River is a fun river to paddle. I really recommend hopping on right there and floating down, at least down to Malmason, you know, wildlife management area. But it grows in big curtains all along the Yalobusha through there. And you go through Malmason on that stretch. That is a beautiful little stretch because it's a lot of public land.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take you up on that when I come down there. We'll have to.
Yeah.
I would love to do that.
I just thought this was cute. So
Oh yeah. I mean, like little pond sliders are the cutest. I mean,
there, I noticed, Robin, that there are a lot of photos of you with animals, both dead and alive, in
right.
your hand on iNet. So
Oh yeah. So sadly, the dead ones are easier to take pictures of.
yeah.
I don't have a nice camera. I only have a cell phone.
Uh, this is one special to Harry and I both. The Penstemon tubiflorus. That's a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
find.
Such a magical flower. I think that one. I think I'm up in the Holly Springs National Forest for that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's super cool. I love that one. It's in near where some of Joel and I's family are from,
Hmm.
and then near the Ghost River State Natural Area I keep talking about, adjacent to the river, there's some really nice prairie areas. But anyway, I remember when I saw it in the field earlier this year up here, I thought it was a white bucket. I was like, is that a white bucket? Like the blooms were so big. I was like, what is that big white thing out there? And then as I approached it, I was like, wait, this is special.
Right. I
Uh,
think I saw you had a video of that, right?
yes,
I
yeah.
watched your video on that, man. That was awesome.
My dad, I mean, my parents were with me, and we were going to
Oh.
eat this little restaurant, and I was like, y'all got to pull over. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go out there. And then my dad
Right.
was like, let me record. And I was like, please.
Yeah, right.
So,
I love that. I mean, it's almost always trash, right? Every time I get excited that it might be a cool plant, I get out there and it's always a piece of trash.
I
To
know.
actually get out there and it not be trash, that is amazing.
I know. I saw like a red flag today and thought it was a cardinal flower. And I was
Oh.
running toward it and I was, oh, it was so,
Dang. I bet the hummingbirds did the same thing all fall.
they probably did. Probably did.
We included some Baptisia, probably Lactea, maybe.
I think so. This grows right across the the highway from Lee Tartt Nature Preserve, and the factory that owns the ditch allows me to kind of claim it on INAT. So they've allowed me to kind of care for this ditch, even though no, I mean, it gets sprayed so much by, there's a lot of utilities that run through there. But I think this must not, and this must actually even thrive on that because it keeps it open. And it's the only place I know where this grows in Grenada County. I'm sure it grows other places, but it's just right there across. Got to collect a lot of seeds this year. The deer have normally eat them down, but I happened to find a few plants that weren't eaten and were able to collect the mature seeds. So
I
much,
Nice.
love that plant.
yeah.
I absolutely love that plant. That's amazing that it's there. I found it again by that same river, and I keep the one I'm referring to is in Fayette County, Tennessee, just north of Marshall.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
on the state line, but like, and then I found a field of it, and then the farmer sprayed it out and planted some pasture grass.
Ugh.
But when they first sprayed it to prep it, or they did something, it woke it up, and it was like
Whoa.
a field full of it, and
Wow.
it went back and it was gone. But
Oh
like,
man.
it's so striking, and I thought it was so cool that it was down there where y'all are at. Sometimes when I see the things down in Grenada, it like inspires me to start looking for them up here. And
Right?
I'm like, so when I saw this, I was like, oh, this year, like when springtime comes, and I'm like, I'm gonna find it this year, and I haven't, but I found a lot of other cool things trying.
Right? That, I
Yeah.
mean, there's no, you can't lose. And when you go looking for a plant, you're gonna find something cool. And
Yes.
I feel certain you're gonna find some. I mean, y'all, this has got to be in every county in North Mississippi if you just know, if you just start looking. This is right on a wet ditch at the top edge of a big wet ditch area that has, this ditch has so many cool plants, and it is the most abused ditch. I mean, everybody just sprays it constantly, whether,
So,
but it is some cool stuff in there.
is that
Yeah.
Amsonia with it?
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's got insomnia and it's got a bunch of copper iris.
that's
Um,
the same. Okay, so we've got some near the Coldwater River with a ton of that Amsonia,
yeah.
kind of other. I think they're linked.
So
We
yeah, if they're, I mean, so yeah, definitely if you see those growing, check for this plant too, because they must like the same type thing.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
This Baptisia is for sure growing in Calhoun County as well. So
Oh yeah.
Y'all kind of edge on into some prairie area in Calhoun County, right? Are there some
uh
prairie soils there?
probably.
Yeah.
Liatris squarulosa. It's a
There's actually a
beautiful.
good bit of that at the Holly Springs National Forest where I like to just hang out. That's growing all along the roadsides when they don't spray it. I went this past year to find it, and they had just sprayed both sides of the road like 8 feet in. I'm like, really? In the National Forest?
I know. I see it up here around more in Holly Springs National Forest in Marshall and Benton, and I want
Yeah,
to come down farther south where because that's a huge area, but
right.
I think when it hits what you call the North Central Plateau, North Hilly Gulf Coastal Plains,
Yeah.
kind of on that line, that's where I start seeing it show up dry. And but it is, I love it, and it actually I
Yeah.
like the seed almost as much, if not more, than the bloom. When it's
Oh,
real
yeah.
puffy, it looks crazy cool. But
That is cool. I feel that way about a lot of plants. I love the seed form.
that's
Yeah.
Oh
that's
yeah.
Well,
So, y'all, this is like I'd never seen little blue stem in Grenada County, and y'all know where this is. So during COVID, notice that's well that was 2019. But I thought I made that observation in 2020. But there's a cemetery in the middle of our town. Our oldest cemetery has a big kind of field out back that just hasn't, they just haven't buried people there yet. And they didn't cut it for about 2 years. And I just noticed it was this beautiful red color. And so I started walking out in it and realized it wasn't just plain old broom sedge. And, and I thank goodness INAT existed. I wasn't sure what it was, and it turned out to be a little blue stem. This is just in the middle of town. This now at this point they've been cutting. Somebody bought that plot and has been cutting the grass faithfully every month,
oh,
and they don't let it grow anymore. So now it's just a mown field, and
mm,
people are starting to get buried there. So
mm,
that just made me so sad. But I was so excited to make that find right in the middle of Grenada.
yeah.
that's super cool.
Yeah.
Included a couple of laryngiums. This one's pretty neat.
And isn't that plant nobody notices? It's everywhere, like a little tiny ground cover everywhere in a bottomland or wet area. And it's the coolest looking plant, but you could easily never even notice it because this is tiny for those of y'all who don't know. These are
I've been looking
tiny.
for it for a long time, and my buddy bought a house. I'm talking about in suburbia in Hernando,
Really?
and in his backyard, he was like, and he'd asked me about 100 plants, and
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Oh, that's invasive beefsteak plant. That's
Right.
like, oh, that's a sweet gum tree coming up, you know." And he says, "Hey man, what's this little blue thing?" And I was like, "It's probably Asiatic dayflower."
Right?
He's like, "No, look at it." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is this thing doing back here?" It's in his back in with the Bermuda grass
No, no.
growing all through it. But I love it. I absolutely love it. I think
It's
it's
a
so cool.
beautiful little, I mean, I think it's got landscape potential. If people use it as a little ground cover in a wet spot, I mean, that's just a neat plant.
I agree. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Another beautiful one, Eryngium microfolium.
Yeah, another also great seed heads.
Yeah.
I was with a I was recently with a Homa elder, and she was showing me how her tribe makes courting with this plant, and it was so easy. She just used the leaves. She didn't do anything to them. She just takes the leaves this time of year when they're starting to get brown, and quickly made like 2 feet of courting. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna start. I mean, I'd like. It's just a great plant, but its leaves have that have this history with making cordage for Native Americans.
Hmm. I just thought that was a
Ooh,
beautiful
A
shot.
gorgeous plant, is it not?
Mhm.
yes.
I mean, I love things that grow in circles or glow. These. That flower form is just awesome. I think that's also maybe that's in Togbigby, Tom Big. I found that one in Holly Springs, but have y'all ever been to the Noxubee Crest area in Tom Bigby?
Uh-uh.
Oh, I highly recommend that. I mean, y'all will freak out. That's got like lady slippers and I mean all kind of crazy stuff. But this was near that area in Tom Bigby National Forest. It's called I think the Noxubee Trail, maybe. Awesome trail system.
I'm trying to think if I mean I've been to some spots in Chickasaw County. We did a Mississippi like trip last year, and we're actually going on one tomorrow. We're going to the Jackson area, but there's so many places. What's funny is I used to growing up, I wanted to get so far away to go be outside, and
Right?
I just want to be so close,
It's
like
right.
my backyard. Like
Yes. Yes.
in the state. If I can drive it in a day, like I want to go there. But
Yes.
that's super cool. I'll have to check it out. I've got Rocky Springs,
Yeah.
and this one is Noxubee Crest.
Yeah, Noxubee Crest, and that's in the Tombigbee National Forest. But that whole area is really neat. And you'll find a lot of cool trails. And the mountain biking people make awesome trails and keep them up in that area.
I've got some cool ones for you that I'll send you later on that are up here if you ever get.
Oh, yeah, good. That'd be
Um,
awesome.
yeah, that would be a fun day.
Man, that was a cool. I think was this last year? Yeah, it was last year. I was out at and y'all see the date? That was like at the end of that was almost at the beginning of this year, And I was out at the Tallahatchie National Wildlife Refuge, which is out in the Delta, on the way to Cleveland, between Grenada and Cleveland. And I looked up there were I mean, there must have been 500 plus of these ibis.
Wow.
And they should have already been gone. They shouldn't be in the Delta that late in the season, but I mean, I know climate patterns are change, where things are changing, things are warming up, but they were still hanging
Wow.
out in the Delta. Uh,
And I just love the composition of the shot. Just
Haha,
the
thanks.
feathers on the water.
Right? Oh, that looks like a great place to drag my paper through.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Summer tanager, that's a beautiful shot.
I love seeing both of those. It's so rare for my phone to be able to take a shot like that, because I just can't take good bird shots. But that was a lucky. Sometimes when you're really quiet and still in the forest, the birds come in closer than they would if you were moving around a lot.
Mhm.
This is a beautiful one
I
of
love that.
lotus.
Oh, that was my most recent trip out to I think I went out to The Mount Mason Wildlife Management Area has a lot of unique places, and this was out on a place called the Scatters. I don't know if y'all. It's a really remote. If you didn't live in my area, you would never know this little boat ramp existed. It's on part of Mount Mason, but it's in the middle of duck hunting land that they probably wish this wasn't there, but it's my public access to this big wetland, and it is filled with lotus, and they had just sprayed it though. It took me a minute to realize these had been sprayed instead of naturally
Um,
dying, but they had. I'm sure they're prepping it for duck hunting season. But
Mm,
which is such, I was sitting there looking and thinking, I don't know if y'all know much about, I love ethnobotany. And this particular plant, this is what fed the Southeast. You can eat every single part of it. And if you've ever tried the nuts, they're absolutely delicious. You eat them green. They taste like hazelnuts. The roots are edible. Have you ever had lotus roots? Like a lot of Asian people cook with them. They're very potato-like.
mm,
And then, of course, in the leaves, the shoots are edible. There's nothing, it's, and here they are. Here's this wealth of food where we're all paying for groceries that we can't even afford right now. Our forests are filled with all this food, like these fields of lotuses, and we're having to spend money and time to kill them, you know, which this would have fed an entire tribe of people. I mean, it's like all these ironies is we've spent money to kill something that would have fed our entire community. And it would
so
have kept it in balance by our eating it, because it is out of balance. It is a little out of balance out there, but no one's eating it.
there's I saw this in mass for the first time earlier. My dad and I took a boat down the Mississippi River.
Oh,
It was his paddle wheel stern boat, and I went with him to deliver it to Louisiana. And I got out at Port Gibson, but I met this
oh,
named Jimmy Cassell, and he
yeah,
was just birding at the boat ramp. And
yeah.
what's cool is he's a hunter conservationist. He's like the most
Ooh,
interesting person. But he put me on the side by side and rode me all around his property in
dang,
Port Gibson, and we went on this wetland, and he
that's so
showed
cool.
these to me, and he showed me how to harvest them, and
Yeah,
he pawpaws together, and
yeah.
I mean, he was just the coolest dude. He was showing me black bears on his trail cam from
No
now.
way.
But anyway, it restored my faith in humanity a little bit, because I was like
Yeah.
tired, and this guy shows up and he's like, "Come on, buddy," you know.
Hell yeah.
But it was so awesome. I love
That is
that,
awesome.
and I would travel to go see that. That's super cool.
Yeah, there's some really beautiful spots around Greenwood that have some very different feeling swamps than mine over in Grenada. The Delta swamps just feel different than the hill swamps. You just got to you got to visit a bunch of swamps to realize how different they can feel and that
Different
they have different
composition.
plants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. And there's some highway between is it between Greenville and or between Greenwood and Grenada? There's a
Yeah.
highway, and I've driven it twice, and I couldn't stop as much as I wanted to both times.
Yeah.
But it got super, and maybe it's because it's going through those eco regions, like you pointed out.
Yeah.
But oh my, because it went from delta to hills to plains to, like, and I was seeing like cup plant, a bunch of
Oh yeah.
paspalum, those super cool, a
Yeah, you
lot
were
of
probably on Highway 7 because there is yeah, you do go
woodlots.
through all those eco regions and it's
Oh,
awesome.
that stretch of highway is amazing.
It is.
That was cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I spent a lot of time on that particular highway.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come down there and I need to drive it
Oh,
again.
yeah.
and here's the Amzonia we were talking about
Yeah,
before.
that's probably in that same ditch growing right near those the Baptisia.
Now I can't tell you this for sure, but I'm gonna assume that this is the same one we have up here. And it took me talking to people smarter than me to determine this. Joel got some great photographs of it, but it's variety salicifolia, or it might be considered its own species now, but Amsonia salicifolia. But a lot of people took
That's
interest in
cool.
it. It's got that wide leaf like this one. Was it in a
Okay.
wet ditch?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I've only just realized that there are more than one type of Amsonia. So
I
this
didn't know.
notice nobody's I don't have research grade on this particular ID that may not be right.
No, I think, well, I mean, I put Tabernae Montana because unless you knew, that's all that
Yeah.
that's going to give you. But then when some other people took interest in it that have more botanical training than me, which are a lot of people, but Kate traveled up here to look at it. That's kind of what they determined. And I'm wondering if it's the same one. I really want to see that ditch, especially with the Baptisia, the Amsonia, and the copper iris.
Yeah.
Is there a swamp leatherflower, Clematis crispa nearby there?
Yes. And also Asclepias aquatica.
That's yeah. I think that there's got to be some. I'm a potential connection between that
Yeah.
and there's these terraces near the Coldwater River
Hmm.
that are kind of similar. But
Yeah. The woodland lilies are in there. There should probably more Turk's cap lily. There should be in there, you know.
that's crazy.
Um,
Y'all have that. Is that you're
yeah.
talking about the bright red Turk's cap lily or
Yeah, Lilium superbum.
Lilium superbum? Wow,
Yeah.
that's
We have a lot of it. The ones we have on at the swamp. I mean, it's really all. I see it all over Grenada County, but the deer eat it. They love it.
uh,
Deer love everything we've just talked about. They will eat all of that to the ground.
I've got to come and visit and look at this area. I would
Hmm.
like for you to see the one up here too.
Yeah, I would love to come up there and go out with you and check things out.
Some of them are in like I call them hydroxeric. That's what they're referred to on these
Hmm.
ecological site descriptions. They hold water in the spring and then dry out this time of year.
Yeah.
More of them are kind of emerging since Arkabutla Lake Dam is not working. So it's kind
Oh.
of like some of them are reverting, but within those, they have these ponded depressions. And that's where I was finding the clematis. I
Hmm.
find interesting carex. I find like the clematis crispa, the copper iris,
Yeah.
interesting carex, interesting. It's like water oak is usually the dominant. There's honey local
Right.
in there.
Mhm.
But anyway, super cool. I was really interested in this Amsonia
Yeah,
when I saw it.
that's cool.
This one is such a such a beast, and
Oh
Harry,
man.
I think even Nate commented on it. Whoa, on
That was a look. That even I did. I
comment.
mean, I see a lot of cypress trees, but this was a really special feeling tree. And I was in a private. I was a buddy of mine has a hunting club up near Marks, and he had invited me to come out there and paint. This place is called Bear Lake, and it's an oxbow off of the Coldwater River. I think it's off the Coldwater River.
Cool.
Would that be right? Is that running through the Marks area?
Yeah, way downriver in the Delta, probably so.
Yeah. And because it made me want to get on the cold water. I've never paddled the cold water. But anyway, so I'm just out with yeah, I went out around Easter. It was just last year and it was like mostly just a bunch of tupelos. Honestly, not that many cypress and I was, but but this was at the very tail end of one of the oxbows, and it just all of a sudden I just just came up. It was like this, yeah, this beautiful, mysterious being just emerged from from all these like little tupelos, and I mean it felt so old and ancient, and I spent the whole day with this tree. I painted it and drew it, and anyway,
Cool.
this was a special tree.
That is
I
awesome.
I want to give that tree a hug.
I know, right? It was just, I mean, it had, I mean, I can't tell you how wide. I wish I had a picture. I have pictures of, I was with a friend and I made her put her boat in front of it. That is a really wide, I mean, that must be 20 feet wide. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
huge, very, very wide tree. And like this tree had topography, like when you got up to it, because it was so flattened out, it looked like you were looking out across this amazing landscape.
This
It,
is a weird question, but did you go up and touch it? I always like to go touch them.
oh yeah,
You
I'm
can
always
feel
touching
it.
trees now.
You can
Definitely.
feel it. I mean, that one is like it's screaming at me to come up. Like I think you can feel an energy.
I think so too.
But man, that is so cool. It does look like a being. Look at its
It is a
arms.
being. I mean, it is a being. I mean, it's an old being. I mean, I guarantee you this is. I mean, I can't. It's hard to say on Cyprus. Have y'all been out to Sky Lake?
No, but it's on my bucket
Okay,
list.
you got to do that sooner than later. And I actually would recommend right now because
Yeah.
I like to see it without water because you can see the big trees all the way down to the ground and you can walk inside of them. But in the spring, they're covered up by 8 feet of water, but anyway, you can. I mean, this they're not quite this shape, but Sky Lake has these beings that are 1,500 years old. They're 1,500 plus years old.
That's a great, and I don't think enough people in Mississippi know about it. There's a great video about it on YouTube though. I think it was
Yeah,
like a public broadcast, but I remember YouTube like suggested it to me, and
yeah.
that's how I found out about it. Or no, it was a kayaking buddy of mine. And I was just like, how is everybody not flocking to this place?
Well, I'm glad they're not in some ways, but
Oh,
at the
that's
same
true.
time, I
That's
think they
right.
They they need to. I mean, the trees are very vulnerable. They take you out there on this boardwalk, and there's no camera. No one's watching you. And I
Yeah.
mean, so far, I don't think anyone's carved their name in them. But I mean, I used to go to the Sky Lake trees prior to there being a boardwalk when it was still private land, and I knew the owner. And I would go out there, and and now it's public, and they've built. It's an amazing boardwalk. I mean, I will say that the state owns it. They
Yeah.
built half mile, maybe longer. It's the longest boardwalk I've ever walked on that takes you out through this kind of these giant trees or you must pass 20 of the biggest trees you've ever seen, and the boardwalk ends at one twice the size of the biggest trees you've ever seen, like this huge, it's like being in the red. I mean, they are, and they are related to the red. I'm sure y'all know this. I'm just saying that for people maybe listening.
Of
They're the
course.
southern redwood. They're in the red. They're related to redwood trees, and you can feel it there. I mean, these are ancient, wise beings, and you want to touch them all.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can crawl in, you can get inside. The reason they're still standing is they're almost all hollow. That way because that's why they never got cut. They were hollow. So you
Yeah.
can go inside of them and spend time. It's really special to do that.
I'll probably do that. I've got a list going, but on our way down, we have the day to spend tomorrow driving down to Jackson.
I would definitely recommend going through that way if you have the time.
Yeah, I think we will. We've got a bunch of stuff on Museum of Natural Science, and then I've
Yeah.
even just from this conversation tonight, other things, and I appreciate that. I mean, that's special. I love shining the light on Mississippi. Uh,
Yeah,
so many special places.
definitely.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I just love the clasping leaves on this Symphyotrichum. So nice,
I
nice.
know, I did too. I love taking those close-up shots that are, that really make it what makes a plant unique from other plants.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
that was
awesome.
good.
Couple orchids, Platanthera,
I
beautiful.
love orchid. Growing up not knowing that we had orchids in our woods, I'm kind of fascinated with all the orchids, and they still thrill me. I mean, the three I see the most are the one like the one you just showed, this tway blade, and then I don't think you chose a craneflower orchid. That's probably the most common one I see. But all three I love. I love all three. To me, those represent a bottomland habitat. So they just speak to me of bottomland forest.
This one's tiny. I
Yep,
love
that's a tiny orchid.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Joel, he went and photographed some, and was that in? It was like just a little section of land left. Where was that, Joel? In Collierville near the Wolf.
Yeah, there's a residential housing development going in Collierville, and there's a little wood line, and most of them got taken out, but there's still a few hanging on in that little remaining wood line there.
Oh,
So
that's so cool.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
love it once.
sometimes that's all it takes for for a plant to hang on in one little spot till maybe it gets a chance to spread back out.
Yeah,
That's another road ditch. There's a really great stretch of road ditch between Grenada and Winona that's got these great a good bit of they've got the silphium, um what's the the rosinweed, and this particular green comet milkweed and a couple other milkweeds. I'm trying to remember. But it's such a, when they spray it all the time. I just happened to, it was during 20, was this in 20, this is 2018. In 2020, they didn't spray the road through there that whole year. And it was so exciting to see those plants thrive during that year.
I love that. It's my favorite milkweed
Oh,
because
really?
yeah, because I love tuberosa, and we find tuberosa variety interior here. But every
Yeah,
time I found this one, it's just indicated such a special place.
I agree. I always find other cool plants when I see this particular milkweed.
Hmm.
It
Exactly.
looks wild. Like, look at that. It looks like an alien or something.
I know,
I
right?
love
It
it.
does. It's definitely the weirdo of the milkweeds.
Yes, that's another reason I love it. This one's beautiful too.
Yeah, I
Is
thought
this
that
like
was a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
Thanks. Of course, I mean, this is probably becoming my favorite milkweed because I want to say it's my milkweed. It's the one it's the milkweed. It's the only wild milkweed that I know of at the Lee Tartt Nature Preserve that we
Oh,
have.
that's so
They
cool.
just nat that we planted we someone gave me some tuberosa off their property and we have it planted by our sign and it's it's native to our county but it wasn't it's not original to the site.
Yeah.
So but this one is.
Oh,
Oh,
that
that's a
stunner.
great milkweed.
That's a stunner.
It is a stunner. The first time it grows in those perfect, almost like a snow cone.
Yes.
They're
Look at
so,
that
and those are really common at Holly Springs National Forest too.
red ring.
Yeah, red ring.
It is up north too. I was going to say that.
Yeah,
It's like once I got into some rich woods, and once I get over just east enough to get
yeah,
to Holly Springs National Forest, East Marshall
yeah.
County, that's where I start seeing it. Now, this I thought was super cool. This Crataegus, that's a cool find.
It is. I mean, and the first time I saw it, like I didn't know what it was. This is before iNaturalist, and I finally realized it was some kind of hawthorn and this is at Lee Tartt Nature Preserve and I started realizing I found a couple of mature plants but at the time I just didn't think in terms of management or I didn't understand management and the two mature plants that are out there have died since then because I think they were starving for light. This is a light lover
Yeah.
and I think all hawthorns like light even though they're an understory type plant
I have
and
some,
so
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt.
no, no, go ahead. Go
Some that
ahead.
are struggling up here in DeSoto in some of
Yeah.
these upland, I call them open woodlands, but
Yeah.
there's one of those plants that I think that there were probably a lot of around here at one
Yeah.
time that we've just forgotten that
Yeah.
just get forgotten. There's a lot of those, that we've looked at and probably the same down where you're at. And you're able to, you got people like us that are pulling over on the
Mhm.
side of the road and really observing,
That's right.
seeing, they're like, wow, this is a little window. I bet you that was once, more widespread, but
Right. Because I just don't ever see that. So we must have 15 or 20 of these on at Lee Tartt Nature Preserve that I have found, but none of them are more than 12 inches high. And I think they're starving for light. So I'm trying to manage it. Whenever I find one of these, I start injecting all the trees around it, hoping we can get the light in there and get them on up. I mean,
yeah,
I'm hoping that's the reason. I don't know if deer are keeping them low either. I mean, I might assume that they're deer browse.
yeah.
Um, because I can't quite figure out what happened to the bigger plants and why did all the little ones stay little.
Hmm.
I
But
think you're on the right path, though. I mean,
yeah,
there's another one. I can't remember the name. Buckthorn bully is the common
yeah,
name.
buckthorn bully.
We find a lot of those, but they're all struggling. They're all struggling
Same,
because
same.
they're too dense. And then think about all the forbs that we're probably missing. All the forbs and grasses. Like, do y'all got
Right.
Chasmanthium sessiliflorum, that wood
Oh
oak?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
a beautiful grass. I
I
love
love
it.
it so much. But
Me too.
anyway, I'm getting all excited. I'm getting ahead of myself. Is this one in the wet ditch too?
This one is probably this is in another wet ditch on the property, but it's probably in the big wet ditch we were talking about earlier. I see it frequently enough. I mean, it's not common, but I mean it's kind of spotted around the property. I don't see it, I didn't see it this year. I'm wondering if the deer don't eat it down. When I stopped seeing plants, we have a serious deer overpopulation. I mean, like serious. Like the state scientist came out and he thought he was going to tell us, even he could not believe the deer problem we've got. So we're doing a really big bow hunt this year and pushing it, trying to get. I know when I'm going to when I start seeing our plants more. Come all go bloom and go all the way to seed, I'll know our deer situation's in better shape.
Yeah,
Almost all of our flowers get eaten.
that's interesting. Um, that is
Yeah, I love this one. It's a beautiful, beautiful plant.
Yeah,
That one's in the same community that I was describing earlier. Now, this is
that's
a
cool.
cool one too. Oh my gosh, there's so
Such
many
a
cool
cool
things.
plant. And once again, we only have one. I've only found one area of this plant at Lee Tartt Nature Preserve. This is a pretty common plant over in the Delta. I see it at the National Wildlife Refuge, but it's starving for light. I mean, I never knew I was going to be such a tree killer. I mean, I
Yeah.
tell you what, I've been killing the heck out of some trees. Oh, we kind of do. We pick on ironwood. When the Lee Tartt Nature Preserve was high graded, probably back in the probably more than once, probably back in the 50s, 60s, and then again in the 90s,
Oh,
and and they left all this ironwood, and so all this ironwood just got massive. And ironwood, if y'all have ever really paid attention, they're like an umbrella in the forest.
yeah.
They're like privet. They will completely take away all the light. And
Yeah.
so then nothing can germinate. And all these little plants are struggling and so we've been killing the heck out of our understory ironwoods. And it's brought in so much more light.
That's interesting. I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep a lookout for that up at the Coldwater. I've noticed
Yeah.
the Ghost River is the headwaters of the Wolf River that I keep referring to.
Yeah.
But these are just areas that I grew up and I travel around a lot, and I'm just because we're so close, I'm relating them. But this on that Mississippi River trip with my dad,
Yeah.
all along the banks and the sandy soils with stuff like mimosa and Illinois bundleflower, the not the invasive mimosa like mimosa
Huh.
spiculosa, the little powder puff pink one.
Yeah.
But I would see, oh gosh, what fall panicum dicotylophlorum. That
Okay.
I started to associate this shrub with. I feel like I started making friends with it and seeing its
Yeah,
other.
yeah, yeah.
But I love it now, and it was one that
Yeah.
I probably saw. I used to work along close to the Mississippi River, and it was
Yeah.
growing in the riprap in downtown Memphis, like
Oh, wow.
everywhere. And
It's one you can easily pass over, especially when it's not blooming. You
oh, I
know,
passed it over for years. And then once I saw the bloom, I could never unsee it again. I mean, I
right.
was like blown away by it. But
It is a gorgeous, unexpected. It just doesn't look like even it belongs here. It's just an amazing plant.
that's cool that it's on the Alabutia.
Yeah. And once again, what a great landscape shrub too. It would be a great
Mhm.
landscape shrub
I
because it's
agree.
beautiful with and without flowers.
Yeah, I love this swamp dock.
Me too. I've always loved this. I love its shape. I love where it grows. I love this plant.
Me too. That was a cool find. The only time I think I saw it, and I used to pass over every dock, every Rumex.
Yeah.
Wouldn't think twice about it. But a friend of mine, Alan Trentley in Meeman Shelby Forest, in the alluvial plain beneath the Bluff Hills, which
Yeah.
is just north of Memphis, he pointed this one out. Or I noticed it and I was like, dude, what is this thing? And one that now am, I love it since the habit. So now I associate the memory with it. So that's
Yeah.
cool to know that it's down. Look how neat that thing looks. That's
Once again, the seed heads, the seed heads of Remax are always cool though.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Copper iris. I think that's in that. I'm sure that's in that same ditch, and there it's just there. It is thick in there too with these.
Joel, do you see that? Is that uh
Great.
Tradescantia? That Tradescantia behind it? That spiderwort?
It
It,
probably is spiderwort, one of the spiderworts.
that's so I'm just getting excited about the color.
Oh
Like the purple blue and the copper together. I mean,
man, it is a beautiful mix.
super neat.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Thought
and
that
my
was a
favorite.
gorgeous
I
shrub.
mean, and this particular stand, I will tell you. So when I first started visiting what's now Lee Tartt Nature Preserve, there was this little measly, there I didn't know what I was seeing. I didn't know I was seeing Turk's cap lily. And I think I can't remember who pointed it out to me, probably Philip Barber. We were walking out in the forest and he recognized the leaf structure, you know, and it had never bloomed. I watched it all the time and it was barely surviving under the forest. It was so dark where it was growing. And and he told me it was Turk's cap lily, and I was like, "What?" I just I couldn't believe it. And so I watched. Then I started really watching. I thought the deer were eating it. I could see them always topped off, and so I thought that's why it wasn't blooming. And so I put a deer exclosure fence around it like at least 15 years ago, and they still wouldn't bloom. And so, this is, I mean, I'm almost finished with my forestry tech degree, and it took me really going to forestry school and really understanding what management does. I didn't want to believe humans needed to get involved,
yeah.
but when you only have these remnants of forest, sadly, you can't just leave them to their own devices now. You can't wait on a tornado to come hit just the right spot or a tree to die in just the right spot to keep some of these plants alive. And so I went in and after it was my second semester in school, and I was cried the whole time I did this. But this group is surrounded by these big old oaks. And I decided because it was the only group of Turk's cap lily on the property, it needed light. And so I girdled with an axe three massive oaks that were in perfect health. Absolutely nothing wrong with these oaks. And I girdled them and I killed them, in order to put the light in, crying the whole. I mean, you just feel terrible when you take the life of these big, beautiful oaks. But that very next year, they bloomed. These plants shot up and did this amazing. And this was 4 years ago, and they've gotten thick and they've gotten bigger and the blooms are just getting more and more. At first it was just a few blooms per plant, but the plants can have 6 and 7 blooms on them, and so now and I've been girdling. I mean, I've been girdling and injecting way more trees in that area and letting in all this light and. Anyway, it made a believer out of me for management and why we do management. And sometimes you have to, take the life of something to help a struggling species survive.
It was a necessary trade-off, and I don't mean to get too off subject, but I'm fascinated with this, and I didn't know you were you went to forestry school, but I've been reading these like local history books in the library, but it's amazing to me how much we've removed, like how
Yeah.
much how like I read about that in the Coldwater River bottoms they were offering $5 per red wolf scalp in the early 1800s because so there's a huge red wolf pop. Like what kind of how much change have we don't realize until you really get into this how much we've already altered. So we
Oh, we're living in the aftermath of an apocalypse. I mean, we don't realize we've already been through multiple apocalypses, but
that's well
definitely
said.
in nature's. When you go to the Delta, you don't. I mean, it's so changed that. Have either one of y'all ever read the This Delta, This Land?
Mhm.
No, but I will. That sounds
Y'all
cool.
are readers. It's the environmental history of the Mississippi Delta, written by a guy from Miko Soku from I want to say it's Finland. Um, it's a page turner, you know what I'm saying? It is an excellent book. But I mean, he is, and he's got, I mean, just the bibliography is worth it. But he really describes the Delta starting with pre-man and then Native America, and then, of course, everything, from settlers on to the present. He's describing how much we've altered it,
Yeah,
of course, starting with mound builders, and then and the fire that the Native Americans, just how we humans. I mean, it's a fascinating read, but after at the end of it, you are left going, wow. You
yeah,
just because we just take it, we look out and even the people in the Delta, they love the empty landscape. They love looking at the sunsets. I mean, I do too, honestly. But the
yeah.
truth is, it's the ghost of a forest. It should be a massive, huge bottomland hardwood forest, and with all these niche habitats, with the, 1 inch can make a niche habitat out there. And
Right. And that's
that,
one
that book is describing that, the loss of it, what happened, and the hydrology being changed. And he considers the Yazoo Mississippi Delta the most altered place on Earth. That's a
wow.
pretty big statement. This is someone coming not from the United States even. He chose wrote the book on the Yazoo Mississippi Delta because he wanted to write something on the most extreme alteration in the world. That's
Oh,
pretty,
that's incredible. I'll read that's thanks for telling us about that.
yeah.
I kind of the more I dive into that because that's what I'm doing when I'm driving around and pulling over and looking at plants is just trying to paint a picture in my head
Me
of
too.
maybe what it was at one time and as I develop it and at least what I think is a better idea of what it may have been. I get a
Right.
little sad, but it makes it so special when you find the pieces because
That's right. The pieces are still there. And I mean, I just spent 2 weeks in Scotland, and I didn't get to spend I was with my family, so I didn't really get to spend as much time as I wanted in the wild. But I don't know if y'all, I know of a rewilding center there, and I kind of made a beeline for it. But, Scotland, they cut their forest down over 1,000 years ago, and they've had sheep and deer eating every seedling that's tried to come up. I mean, I was looking at a landscape with no trees. I mean, almost nothing I saw had trees on it. These rewilding center, their first strategy was to put up like these massive deer exposures. Like we're talking like 500 acres or maybe bigger, and where the deer, they just wanted to see what was in the seed bank after, not after they it hadn't not been grazed in 1,000 years. And it was amazing seeing what we came because we have so many more pieces. We can, I look around and I look around Mississippi and think of all the loss that we've got. But when it compared to Scotland, we've got so many more pieces that are still there if enough of us care and try to get these pieces put back together you know
Yes.
and I'm watching them. They're struggling. I mean, here they are, this little group of people trying to find wild Scotland again, and they've got a much bigger task before them.
That's a good perspective.
They don't even know what they've lost because they don't either. That record might not, there might not have been a plant for 1,000 years seen there. They have no idea what they've lost.
that is that really puts it in perspective.
Yeah.
But I'm going to read that book. The Delta is fascinating to me, and
Yeah.
all these ecoregions that up near where we live, the Lurse Hills or the Bluff Hills, the Lurse Plains, all of them together, make up my life. That's where I'm running around. But
Right.
I think about like as I grew up, I thought loving nature, I just imagined everything like this was forest until Great Plains, but so many things are at play. Like I think about beavers. Like you think about the red wolves being
Oh yeah.
eastern elk, eastern bison, beaver. Like if a beaver, like I saw a bottomland hardwood forest where the trees were dying because beavers started to dam up the area that held water,
Right.
and the amount of forbs that were coming up like these like aquatic milkweed and
Right.
and I was just like, it was probably constantly changing. Like a
Constant.
tornado comes through, it's just all the time, just changing from one habitat to the next. And I don't know. I love thinking about that. But
Me too. Yeah, not having beavers on the landscape at a large scale is, I think, one of the reasons we don't see as much biodiversity.
I agree. I
Because
completely.
I mean, light and water, it's hydrology. I mean, it's both. Of course, I will say I'm kind of mad at my beavers. Like it's like we have not as many as I wish we had, honestly. I think my neighbor traps them, but they go like only three or four Cornus. I think Cornus. I want to say
Drummondii?
no, is it let me think of its common name. It's a wetland. It's the wetland Cornus. Hang on. I can't, it starts with an F maybe. Um
Fomina, or I know.
Hermina. Yeah, that's it. We have like five or six plants. We don't have enough light for it. It can be common where it grows, but
Right.
we only have a few plants. Guess the beaver came in this winter and took two of the four we have. I'm like,
Oh,
really? And it was
out of all
surrounded. I mean, it had all these other plants that we just so common. It chose those. I'm like, dude, come
yeah, that's
on.
I'd be mad at him too. I mean that one I hope I see return. I see that in the Coldwater River bottoms. I see Drummondii near the I don't see that one as much though. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool that it's there. I love that. I love the berries. The white,
Yeah, I love the berries so much.
so cool. Oh, and a cool thicket, like a thicket species, like a
Yeah, really nice.
woodland edge thicket. And I don't know. I've enjoyed this talk so much. This is like,
Dude, it's been awesome.
I know.
Yeah. Robin, I think that's all of our slides, but I would just say, just finally, I know that you were also a fan of Mary Oliver, but
Oh yeah.
um, I feel like you embody Mary Oliver, especially when she says, "Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it." Yeah.
I love it. That's one of my favorite poems of hers. Instructions
Mhm.
for Living Life. Yeah. Thanks, Joel. That's like one of the nicest compliments I've ever had. I encountered Mary Oliver, a professor in college introduced me to her. And I remember when I first read her poems, I thought I want somehow I knew I wanted as a painter, I wanted to do with paint what she did with words. I
You
wanted to be
do.
able to take nature and bring it to regular people and have it where you can reflect back to yourself and connect and then want to go back outside.
Yeah.
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 That's awesome. Well, cool. This is like, this has been a long conversation, and honestly, this has been one of the coolest. I can't tell you how, like, to talk to someone, Joel and Robin, like that knows what I'm talking about, because I can tell,
Right.
like, I have friends that will tolerate my,
Right. I know.
but like for the others to be excited too is so refreshing. And this is just
Same.
such a nice conversation and nice time. So thank you both so much for, I needed this. Like, kind of, the day was rough and now I feel rejuvenated just talking about something that I love and hearing your inspirational story. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And I'm going to try to come by. I told Lori
Yeah, please.
to come by. Maybe we're going to pass right by you. So I don't
Yeah, please.
talk about that, but I'll,
Okay.
on the way down or on the way back, I'll try to come by and
That'd be
personally
awesome.
thank you and stop by and say, hey, if you're around. But
Yes, please do. Anytime. Definitely. Just yeah, just text me, make sure I can, get myself pulled away so that I'm available.
of course, yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Understandable if you can. I know I'm springing it on last minute. I was just thinking like, oh my gosh,
Love last minute.
passing right by you. So I've gotta, and we're talking about all this. So I'm gonna make it a point to try to
Definitely.
stop. But
Oh,
well, cool. What do you want to call it? And
Yeah, let's call it. Robin, thank you.
thank you, Joel. And that was a great presentation. I really appreciate the time you put into that.
yeah, thanks, Joel. That was, oh man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So
All right.
all right, well, y'all have a good evening. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, y'all too.
Bye.
See ya.